everybody, it's DJ Envy, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got our guest host, Nene Leakes, joining us this morning. And this is Front Page News, and this morning we have Attorney Benjamin Crump on the line. How you doing this morning, brother?
Hey, Envy, this is challenging times, but other than that, we're doing good because we're being strong for Tyre Nichols' family and our people.
Can you give us a breakdown of what happened for people that don't know? A lot of people really didn't know what happened until the video was released on Friday. So for people that don't know, break down exactly what happened. Tyre Nichols was in his car. He was driving home, and I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, Envy, Charlamagne, and Queen Nene, it's unbelievable how this case unfolds. He's driving home. Brother's into photography. He's coming back from taking pictures of the sunset. The Scorpion unit of the Memphis Police Department, many people know them as the Jump Out Boys in their city. Mm-hmm. They pull them over at the stop sign, and then they come, and they're on 10 from the beginning. I mean, it's already escalated. They come, and most of America now have seen the video, but we got to see it about a week before. And what struck me was they just escalated from the beginning. I mean, MF this, son of a B that, get on the ground, I'm on the ground, and they just going in on this brother. And he said, what did I do? What did I do? And you see the humanity in Tyre Nichols, the whole video, the police cursing at him, using excessive force, brutality, and the brother never curses back at them. The brother continues to try to de-escalate the situation, and the officers continue to ratchet it up. And it's so tragic because you see that brother say, I just want to go home. And they never, ever de-escalate. He takes off running. And, Envy, Charlamagne, anybody who look at this video, you would run too.
So
the way they were coming at him, you thought they were going to kill him.
Now question it. Now
they did, essentially.
Yeah, they did. Now, they said that, at first they pulled him over for reckless driving, but when they looked at the camera, they said he wasn't driving reckless. Is that true?
Well, we have seen nothing to substantiate their claim that he was driving recklessly. And remember, there's video everywhere now in America, and certainly thank God there was video that captured after he ran. They were brutalizing him at the first altercation, but then at the second altercation, when they caught him only about 80 yards from his house, you see them punch him, they kicking him, they take the police stick out. And when you look at the one video, I can't even look at my own Instagram now because you see them just holding his arms, and the guy is just throwing these punches. And later on the video at the end, he say, I was throwing haymakers. Right. And you see his head just being knocked about like he's a rag doll. And then tragically, at the end of that video, they still offer him no humanity when that brother's sitting there against the police car, handcuffed, and you see his body fall to the left, to the ground. After a minute, they talking about, get up, and they pull him back up, sitting against the police car. Then he fall to the left, and then you see them pull him up again, and he falls back to the other side, and he's on the ground moaning. And none of those officers, not one of them, render any aid to this young man who's obviously in distress. It's just, at what point, Charlamagne, do you say this is a human being?
Let me ask you a question, Brother Ben. How come there was another officer, a Caucasian officer that was tasing Brother Nichols? He's not being mentioned in any of this. Or the EMT that didn't seem to offer any aid to the brother? How come they're not being mentioned in any of this?
Well, hold up, Attorney Benjamin Crump. We'll do that when we come back. We're talking to Attorney Benjamin Crump. This is Front Page News, but when we come back, I want you to ask that again, because that's what the most thing that people are saying, that we've seen other people and they weren't charged. And we'll talk about that when we come back. It's the Breakfast Club. Our guest host, Nene Leakes, is here, and we're talking with Attorney Benjamin Crump. Morning, DJ Envy, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We have our guest host, Nene Leakes, joining us this morning, and we have attorney Benjamin Crump on the phone right now. Now, Charlamagne, you just asked a question.
Yeah, how come the Caucasian officer that they say was tasing Brother Nichols is not being mentioned in any of this, or the EMT workers who just stood by and didn't give the brother no aid?
Now, Charlamagne, that's what everybody started talking about 5 minutes after the video was released. I started getting hit up on my text. Everybody on social media were saying, hey, that's a white hand that's tasing him at the beginning. And we all know that it was 5 black men who were, arrested for this matter. Why isn't this white officer being arrested? And so we have to now continue to push the line, as our sister Tesla Figueroa always say, to say everybody out there must be held accountable. The EMTs who were out there, it's the fire officials, the fire department officials, who you see on that video before the ambulance get there, and they are there for 5-6 minutes or so, and they're just walking around, and you got this young black man literally moaning because Charlamagne, Envy, Nene, after he called for his mom and those gut-wrenching calls, he said, Mom, and you never hear Tyre Nichols utter another word in his life based on all that video. And those fire department officials are out there watching his brother moan. The police officers are walking around, and we'll talk about that in a second, so nonchalantly, like this is business as usual. So that's why that Scorpion unit had to be dismantled, and that's why my legal team and the family, we demanded that the whole jump out unit that they had there had to be dismantled, because it was obvious that it was their pattern and practice of trampling the constitutional rights of people in our community, using excessive force in our community, because we don't see videos of them doing this to white people who are unarmed. They are only doing this to black and brown people. And I have to be exceedingly clear on this point, exceedingly clear. The way that these 5 black men were terminated, arrested, and charged within 20 days of this tragedy shows us a blueprint going forward, that when you have police officers captured on video using excessive force, committing crimes, then you cannot tell us that it's going to take 6 months to investigate. It's going to take a year or years to investigate. No, because when it was 5 black men in Memphis, Tennessee caught on video, you did it in 20 days. And Charlamagne, what did the police chief say? She said that it was important that we have swift action, that we move swiftly towards justice. So when it's white police in the future or black police who commit crimes against our people, we want to see that they move swiftly with action and justice. It can't just be when it's black people. This is the blueprint. You can't do what you did when it was Laquan McDonald in Chicago, shot 16 times in the back, and you investigated for 2 years. You can't do like Eric Gardner when they choked that brother, the first I Can't Breathe, on video, and they took almost 3 years claiming an investigation. 14-year-old Tamir Rice killed on video. They said they had to investigate, never brought charges. Alton Sterling in Louisiana, they choked that brother selling CDs and shot him, and they said they had to investigate. You got E.J. Bradford shot Thanksgiving night in Alabama in the back. They got video. They say they got to investigate. Terrence Crutcher, a black man having car trouble in Tulsa, Oklahoma, walking away with his hands up. They shot that brother in the back, and then they said they had to investigate. I mean, Pamela Turner, black woman outside of Houston, Texas. I mean, she was having a mental health crisis. The officer shot her 5 times, shot at her 5 times, hitting her 3 times in the face, the chest and the stomach, and they had to investigate that, Texas Rangers, over 2 years. So no more can they ever tell us that when they got officers on video that it's going to take that long, because the blueprint going forward in America now is 20 days. And if it happens again in the future, and regrettably, I think it may happen again,
we know it will.
Black people, we're going to start counting on them. 20 days, we should see somebody charged.
Go ahead, Nene.
Ben, you said that Tyre took off running, but earlier you said there were 5 cops around him beating him. How was he able to get away and run?
And tasing him, yeah.
Nina, you got to look at that video. Tyler Perry told me for his mental health, Charlamagne, that he couldn't watch it. Neither so many people. And we must remember, the psychologists have said Black people are suffering from PTSD, who continue to watch all these videos of state-sanctioned violence by police who are brutalizing us and committing atrocities against us, that it is affecting our mental health as a community. And so a lot of people couldn't see that video, and I do understand, Queen Nene, why you wouldn't look at that video. But in the video, you see him, they say, get on the ground. He said, I'm on the ground. I mean, they yelling all these different commands at him, contradicting commands. And the brother is trying to be calm. He's the only one calm on the video. And so as they are continuing to assault him, they're setting him up, and I guess they're trying to put a handcuff on him and hitting him at the same time. And the brother, like, I can only imagine, he thinking, they gonna kill me.
Right.
These fools are gonna kill me. So he gets up and he takes off running. And you see them take off running after him, and they're kind of upset at him, Nene, because apparently when they were trying to pepper spray him, they pepper sprayed themselves. And, you know, and then they get mad at him and take it out on him for pepper spraying themselves. But that's how he started running. And then they gave chase, and they caught him so close to his house. And that's why it's so heartbreaking when you think about the fact that
his mother.
He was yelling for his mom, praying that she could hear him. Because just like George Floyd, when you are conscious still and you have your life leaving you, what our experts said in the George Floyd video was, you think back to when you first came in this world and you think of who your first protector was. And for most of us, that was our mother.
Right.
So it makes sense that when you die in a lot of these tragedies, you hear people screaming out for their mother.
How did that make you feel, Nene, as a mother?
Well, I have 2 sons, and I don't have a daughter, and it's not a pleasant feeling, and I understand, you know, these guys or whoever are calling their mom. I understand that part, but it's tragedy. It's sad. It's unreal.
I was going to ask, you know, one thing I did see online, and, you know, online makes up all types of stories, that possibility that one of these officers had a problem with him before, because nobody can understand how aggressive it got so fast and so quick, you know?
Yeah, you know, Envy, we've heard that rumor too. We don't think there's any validity to it. In fact, we're going to have a press conference tomorrow with a brother who said that he was attacked by this Scorpion unit about 3 or 4 days before Tyre was killed by the Scorpion, January 7th, where he was assaulted and rendered unconscious by the Scorpion unit. And this brother said he was just going to get pizza. And very similar to Tyre, he comes to the stop sign and they come and approach his car and they're cussing at him. They pull him out the car. They throw him on the ground face down, hitting him. And he says they put a gun to his head. And thank God he survived. And now this brother then calls the next day twice to the Memphis Police Department Internal Affairs to report them. But yet he doesn't get a return call. And what we believe, DJ Envy, what we want to believe, had they called him back, then maybe, just maybe, Tyre Nichols would not have suffered this fatality by these officers. And you know,
I doubt that, brother Ben, because they didn't just start doing that with that brother who ordered the pizza either. You know what I mean?
That was done before.
They haven't just done this twice.
No, Charlamagne, I cannot object there. I cannot object because I think this was a pattern in practice, and our civil rights wrongful death lawsuit on behalf of Tyre Nichols' family, that is the argument we're going to advance precisely, that this was a pattern in practice. This was institutionalized police culture, and it didn't matter, you know, the officers are black or white. It is institutionalized in the culture. And as I've said, it's not whether the officer or the race of the officer that is the determinant factor of whether or not they're going to engage in excessive use of force. It is the race of the citizen, right? Whether it's black boys like you got, Nene, or brown boys and Envy, that they will use brutality against them that they won't do for white citizens. And so that's why when President Biden called us, and I was thinking about our sister Teslin Figueroa, who, you know, say, we got to push the line every chance we get. We got to speak truth to power. I said, President Biden, we have to use this tragedy as an opportunity. And I was saying this in concert with what Tyre Nichols' mother, Rovon Wells, had been saying, Nene. She said that I have to believe that God sent my son here on an assignment. And now that he finished his assignment, God has taken him back home. That's the only way she can cope. That's the only way she can try to deal with this tragedy, because she has to believe that something good is going to come from her son's tragic killing, or she says she will lose her mind. Right. And so that's why we told President Biden he has to use this tragic video that everybody's shocked by as an opportunity to reconvene the United States senators, especially ones who are in his party, Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Cory Booker, to call Senate hearings, get the families back, try to get the House of Representatives back, and re-engage on the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And we have to also call our mayors, as Teslin always tells us, we got to call our governors, we got to hold them accountable, because we absolutely can push the line and we can make change to try to slow down some of these hashtags, because we see from this case specifically, Envy and Charlamagne, that it doesn't matter if they're black, brown, or white. When they put on that uniform, some of them just forget about their ethnicity, and all they see is blue.
Right. Let me ask you a question, Attorney Crump. Real quick, Nene. Everybody is so afraid of the fund the police slogan, right? But a lot of times in cases like this, the first thing President Biden will say is we have to put more money in the law enforcement to train more officers. And you know, President Biden's got his Safe America plan, and that increases funding for police across the country, and they want to put more police officers on the street. At what point do the powers that be realize that's not effective and you can't train people to value black lives? Because I know that's what's going to be his response.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know if the powers that be are ever going to concede that it's not about dumping more money into police budgets, but it's about expanding resources to try to heal the community, like mental health counselors, like having programs that have interactions between law enforcement and the community before there's a tragedy, before there's a life or death situation. And we have to continue to educate them. One of the biggest things that I thought would have come out of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act was the Department of Justice would then keep statistics and make the departments give statistics if you're going to get federal funding, because that's the only power the federal government have over all these states, say, before we give you the money, you got to report to us every instance where you pull somebody over. What was the result of that instance? Was it a shot fired? Was somebody claiming their civil rights violated? Was somebody killed? We need to know the race and ethnicity of each of those people. They didn't want that. I'm happy at St. Thomas University in Miami, Florida. We're going to have the Ben Crump College of Law. And one of the first things that we're going to have an institute is getting data, because knowledge is power. And when we go in these courtrooms, the police unions have all this stuff, all this information that the judge be believing, Charlamagne, that we know is not accurate, but because nobody is getting that information from the other side, that's why President Biden and anybody else say, well, we need more policing because crime is going up. But the statistics don't bear that out.
That's right.
But there's nobody on our side that are gathering these statistics. And so it's a one-way, argument, but we got to push the line, and it doesn't matter what they say, because we know there are videos that we see with our own eyes that tell us that it is police culture, as well as those 5 officers that are responsible for killing Tyre Nichols.
That's right.
Nene,
I know you had one last question. Now we got to go up.
I was going to say, as parents, and I have 2 boys, we tell our kids to comply when the police pull them over. And it sounds like this young man was complying. What advice do you have for parents or for these young men out here if they get pulled over by the police?
Nene, I don't think there's anything we can do to stop them from killing us, whether we riding bicycle while black, walking while black, both in Jane in his own apartment, eating ice cream while black. They shoot first and they ask questions later.
And these officers have body cameras on, and they still do what they did.
And they still did what they did, Charlamagne. And so the best thing I believe we can do is make sure we always have these cell phones available, because, this was like Rodney King in 1992 before the video came out. I said people are going to liken it to Rodney King. It's going to remind them of Rodney King video. But as Chief Davis agreed, that I agree with Attorney Crump, not only is going to remind us, but in many ways, she thinks it's worse than Rodney King, because Rodney King survived. Tyre Nichols didn't. So you look at from 1992, the video of Rodney King, to 2023, the video of Tyre Nichols, both watershed moments in America. And the only question that remains is, what are our national, state, and local leaders going to do about it? And I submit to you, they would do nothing about it unless we make them do something about it.
All right. Well, thank you, Attorney Benjamin Crump, for checking in. We appreciate you.
Always, bro.
And now I said, with this new software, we can get you on the line immediately. So as soon as something happens, we can pull you right up, even if you're out of town, you're not in New York, wherever you're at. And we appreciate you for always checking in on us and giving us the real updates and everything.
And we know you don't got a full suit on, Ben. We know it's just the top. We know you got boxes on at the bottom.
Hey, much love and respect, y'all.
Good to
Charlamagne,
see you,
let's pray for all the black people, mental health, and everybody mental health after seeing this video.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
man. All right.
care.
And we'll take some calls. 800-585-1051. The video was released on Friday. We know a lot of you guys see it. What were your thoughts? Call us up, comments, questions, concerns. Let's talk about it this morning. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.